Started with Michelle. Michelle's been a really great student, sits up at the front, quietly gets her work done, and the truth is, she probably thinks I haven't graded very much because I don't make a lot of comments on her papers because they're so well written. So very good job writing her thesis this year. So we started out with today with with open access to academic journals, and then we moved on to robots in nursing homes, and now we've got an ecology thesis on the valorization of waste. And so a very important topic, especially for Indonesia. But Michelle would like to thank Mr. Wade, who has taught us rhetoric with much patience, Mr. Felix, who advised me throughout the completion of my thesis, Mr. Zorn, who helped me with my speech, my family and friends who took the roles of mental supporters, and last but not least, thank you to Ms. Denise and Ms. Alda, who have dedicated their time to be my panelists today. Michelle's title is Leftovers Are Opportunities, Not Garbage: The Importance of Global Food Waste Valorization. Give me a couple of seconds to set up the timer, and I'll tell you when you can start. All right, you can start when ready.
I'm full, or I don't like it. Many say as they all proceed to carelessly discard their leftovers, believing it harms no one. Little did they know that by 2050, this alarming consequences will lead to an alarming global food scarcity. The growing population would elevate food demand by at least 50%. Don't you remember how your parents used the guilt card, mentioning the poor and the homeless, to encourage you to finish your food? Soon, it won't be just an emotional appeal. Instead, it would be a reality everyone has to face as the dwindling food supplies forces the society to take actions in order to survive. Pity towards food insecurity cases in rural areas would soon turn into fear and anxiety of facing it ourselves. So, surely, immediate action should be taken in order to prevent this nightmare from happening. During the series of world wars, a regime of food scarcity took place and saving food was considered patriotic. From the mid-19th to mid-20th century, efforts to prevent food waste has been present through recipes incorporating reusable food waste and other medias supporting the no waste movement. However, after the technological revolution, prices of food products dropped, and consumer overconsumption behavior became common, resulting in a concerning increase of food waste. The Food and Agriculture Organization estimated that over 1/3 of food produced for human consumption, or an equivalent of 1.3 billion tons of food waste, is annually lost or wasted globally. In addition to that, it is anticipated that the generation of urban food waste will increase by 35% between 2007 and 2025. As much as food waste is organic and easy to decompose and recycle, food waste concerningly causes serious environmental problems like greenhouse gas emissions. Landfills, which are the primary destination for food waste currently, emits large amount of greenhouse gases containing 60 to 65% methane and 35 to 40% carbon dioxide, and are expected to increase in size and number. When food waste is only stored in landfills, not only is methane released into the atmosphere, but prospective agriculture land and energy is also wasted by keeping it that way. While so, the United Nations World Food Programme stated that more than the total populations of USA, Canada, and European Union combined do not have an adequate supply of food. Even though global data has proven the alarming amount and concerning effects of food waste, many still underestimate the amount of food wasted per capita, as they use the word some, a little, hardly any when describing how much food they wasted. Quite concerningly, the more than a large amount of the overall food waste is actually edible and avoidable food waste. Now, before we continue further into this discussion, we must agree upon the definition of food waste as any food that currently ends up in the landfill, regardless of its stage in the food supply chain. The reality of the ongoing issue of food waste is actually often perceived as the government's neglect. However, denying the stigma, in 2012, the Ministry of Environment in Indonesia decreed the implementations of the Reduce, Reuse, Recycle program through waste banks. Yet, unsustainable waste management practices still occur all over Indonesia. Other countries have similar efforts, but spatial, technological, societal, and economic limitations have hindered significant progress. The core challenge then lies in the lack of a robust legal framework or system and incentives to engage the society in food waste recycling and reduction efforts. The stated efforts prove that the society actually recognizes the issue, but many still underestimate its current and future impact. Without immediate actions, though, the environmental damage will undoubtedly escalate, threatening the planet's habitability in the near future. Therefore, food waste valorization should be the top priority of every country for three main reasons. First of all, it is a sustainable approach towards preserving a green environment. Second, it promotes human flourishing activities. And third, it opens up new business ideas and profit maximization chances. Food waste that decomposes produces greenhouse gases including methane and carbon dioxide. A valorization technique called anaerobic digestion collects and converts methane gas into biomethane to be then repurposed as energy generation. In a similar manner, fossil fuels can also be replaced by biogas that is produced by anaerobic digestion of food waste, which will then reduce the emissions of carbon dioxide and other harmful pollutants. Data shows that using biogas as the source of electricity can emit 46.68 kilograms of CO2 per tons of food waste. All of this shows that food waste valorization sustainably preserves a green environment since it reduces greenhouse gas emissions while also producing sustainable renewable energy. Secondly, valorizing food waste can improve the cleanliness of the environment. Currently, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency estimated that 24% of the municipal waste stored in landfills are actually consist of food waste. As this amount grows, landfills fill up faster and the environmental consequences grow more serious. In fact, a 2-year study reported detecting some hazardous materials in soil and water samples taken just 200 meters away from the landfill. These toxic substances are proven to pose significant threats to the environment. This contamination is often caused by the open dumping systems which produces leachates that carry pathogens and release harmful materials into surrounding areas. Not only does it pollute the environment, imagine the odor coming from a large pile of food waste the size of a quarter of an IKEA store emits. If the stench from a single bag of leftovers in your kitchen has bothered you significantly enough, think of the impact of something that large. One promising solution is through composting or producing fertilizers from food waste. This method not only reduces food waste, but also gives back to the earth. In Asia and Africa, food waste valorization could reduce municipal waste by 43% and 55% respectively. That's a major cut, and it could reduce landfill volume by at least 10%. And in North America and Europe, such practices could decrease global warming trends. Another reason why food waste valorization is a sustainable approach towards preserving a green environment is because it promotes land productivity. Right now, Landfills and open dumping systems are the most common forms of waste treatment worldwide. But without proper management due to limited resources, technology, and knowledge, this system is actually a drawback, as it causes land to be unsuitable for agriculture, as well as the displacement of local flora, fauna, and even occasionally people due to the emissions of hazardous materials, odor, and large spatial demand. In response, food waste valorization extends the lifespan of landfills, reduces their volumes, and lessens the need to build new ones. With less land occupied by landfills, the population can utilize the land for more productive use. For instance, old landfill sites can be repurposed as energy crop plantations or anaerobic digestion facilities to produce renewable energy, thus preventing further environmental damage and promoting land productivity. Moving on, food waste valorization also promotes human flourishing activities. Think of how it can impact the overall global food security. As mentioned previously, the current waste management system unsustainably collects and stores waste in landfills or open dumping systems prone to leachate pollution and takes up a large space. Due to insufficient planning, many waste management systems actually waste potential good land for farming, making food products more expensive. As a result, over 3.1 billion people struggles to afford a healthy diet. So, unlike other waste management systems such as landfills that takes up an average of 500 to 600 acres of land, food waste valorization techniques like anaerobic digestion only takes up a fraction of that space, freeing up land for agriculture purposes. Not only that, the byproduct of valorizing all the available organic waste can be developed into organic fertilizers as it contains agriculturally essential nutrients. These fertilizers have the potential to effectively fertilize approximately 53 million hectares of suitable land. Such a promising number towards food security, isn't it? Aside from that, food waste valorization also prevents environmental-related diseases as well as environmental-related difficulties or limitations. As the global population grows and land quality becomes increasingly inconsistent, the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides rises in order to meet the consumer's demand, as seen in Indonesia after the Green Revolution. However, overuse of these chemicals lead to harmful runoff, contaminating water bodies and crops, and posing health risks to consumers and agriculture workers. So, food waste valorization techniques like anaerobic digestion offer decentralized organic fertilizer and renewable energy that can satisfy the community's needs. These needs include heating, lighting, and cooking. Studies suggest that if all organic waste can be processed and utilized by the system, energy poverty levels can potentially drop by at least 30% within a community of 112 to 135 million people. Still within the human flourishing activities agenda, I believe everyone here is aware of the importance of education. Yet, in rural areas, it still remains unevenly distributed due to limited access to technology and also long travel distances to the nearest public infrastructure. Additionally, rural Indian communities still rely on firewood for cooking, so they still spend time on trying to collect wood in order to feed the household. How is it fair for the rural population to waste their time on trying to access basic public services and needs rather than on something more productive use such as education? So, remember, time is money. So, as a solution, the targeted use of anaerobic digestion as biogas generation increases the energy access in these communities, reducing the time spent on survival-related tasks and more on education. This was demonstrated in India in 2015, where the implementations of household-scale anaerobic digesters led to measurable improvements in early education for younger generations. Therefore, food waste valorization has an impact in boosting education improvements. Now, the third reason on why food waste valorization should be implemented worldwide is because it opens up new business ideas and profit maximization chances for every class. Starting with the upper class, food waste valorization creates new business ideas for them. Since food security is a main global concern, food waste valorization can step in as an indirect support in the food production industries. Companies and stakeholders can take part in creating new businesses, such as in the areas of animal feed from food waste, as demonstrated by the two Dutch startup companies, Protix and Nitsten. These companies together processes about 100,000 tons of food waste per year from various different waste streams in Europe. Aside from that, other promising sectors include fertilizers, digestate, and renewable energy industries. This business area is worth the investment because not only does it align with all of the sustainable development goals, one of which is aiming towards zero hunger and zero waste through restoring food waste value, but also because it's profitable. The global biogas market size is expected to grow at a rate of 4.2% from 2024 to 2030. And the biorefinery product market is also showing positive growth. As a matter of fact, a food waste valorization plant in Zhejiang, China, reported that a net profit of about 3 million USD per year with 43.88% ROI could be achieved within 3.5 years of payback period. Next, the middle class is also provided with more affordable goods through food waste valorization. One of the goods that will be cheaper are fertilizers or digestates. With the drop in price of fertilizers, the middle class population that works in the agriculture field will be benefited. And not only the producers, the consumers will also be benefited through the cheaper food products due to the lower cost of production. This can take place due to the key determinant of supply, that in which the decrease in input prices of energy or raw materials will lead to the drop in prices of production costs and allowing the producers to sell more goods at a lower price. Moreover, affordability won't stop at only food and fertilizers. Due to the interdependence of markets on raw materials like energy and electricity and packaging materials, food waste valorization can produce cheaper alternatives in the forms of biogas, biofertilizers, and biodegradable materials for packaging and cutting costs across multiple markets. Lastly, food waste valorization opens up a new job opportunities for the lower class. Food waste valorization techniques can provide job opportunities in the waste collection and management sector, for instance, or the construction area. For instance, research discovered that for every 1,000 tons of food waste digested through the anaerobic digesters, more or less 20 direct jobs are created in the waste collection and management sectors. Those jobs include collecting and transporting organic waste, operating the anaerobic digestion facilities, and managing the logistic and administration of food waste processing. These work opportunities allow the lower class to gain some proper income and slowly break free from poverty, as it doesn't require a high education to begin with. Aside from managing to provide the lower class with new income sources, food waste valorization has succeeded in fulfilling the 10 Sustainable Development Goals, in which reducing the inequalities through this job opportunities generation. All in all, contributing to valorizing food waste will not only save yourselves, but it will save your friends, your families, and eventually, hand in hand, the whole world. While many arguments show the best side of food waste valorization, some critics may argue that implementing food waste valorization worldwide will require a high cost, starting from investments in infrastructure, technology, and skilled personnel to design and build the whole centralized mechanism requires a high investment. For example, operating an organic waste plant in Guelph costs over $117 per ton of food waste. Developing countries, in particular, have limited access to those resources, which causes an issue. While true, investing in the food waste valorization sector is worthwhile. As mentioned earlier, the profit returned and all the positive effects all the people get is worth the investment. Not only can one boost their business, but the overall health of living beings and the whole environment will improve due to the reduction of emissions of harmful gases and substances. On the other hand, another party might argue that an adequate waste collection and segregation system plays a significant role in the waste valorization agenda. The lack of efficiency in the waste collection and segregation sector will lead to the inefficiency of the food waste valorization process and can possibly end up contaminating the waste streams. While that's a valid concern, the cause of the inefficiency of the waste collection and segregation process is also due to the lack of knowledge and awareness about the underlying issue of food waste. So, with the capability of food waste valorization in generating sources of income and profit, the private businesses, companies, can implement regulation at their own plants to ensure proper waste segregation. This will not only improve the efficiency of the process, but also raise public awareness about the importance of waste separation. As environmental consciousness grows, enhancing waste collection systems will no longer be a challenge. Throughout this thesis, we have discussed the importance of food waste valorization through its health, environmental, societal, and economic aspects. If we continue to ignore this issue, we have to say goodbye to everything we enjoy right now. Hence, unless you want to say goodbye to good food, goodbye to fresh air, I invite you all to think twice before you get up from your dining table to throw away your leftovers. Stop underestimating how much food you waste in one sitting and start being aware of where your presumably little food waste ends up at for the sake of our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Good job. We've got our panelists today are Miss Alda and Miss Denise. I will let Miss Alda go first.
Check. Okay. Good morning, Michelle.
Morning, Isalda.
Thank you for your hard work. You should be proud of your hard work. You get where you are right now, and I'm really enjoying how you present your paper eloquently. And I just have a couple of questions for you. Why did you choose this topic? Do you have like any personal reason or like social reason? Maybe you went to like a minefield yourself and you have your heart moved by it. Can you share a little bit about your behind the scenes story?
Definitely, Miss. Thank you for your question, first of all. So, since Karya Ilmiah, I actually always is interested in the food sector, as I also want to apply to the food technology major, and which is why I also continue to discuss like food topics in my thesis defense. And why I choose specifically food waste is because I personally am like an avid picky eater, and I easily waste food. And when I was smaller, I didn't really like consider like how much food I waste is actually like concerning the environment and actually hurting the environment and how we live. So then I researched more into this topic, and I discovered that actually even a small portion of waste can detrimentally like hurt the environment, and that's why I choose it.
Okay, so I also can relate how our parents back in the day, you have to be grateful of the food that you have. Did your parents also do that to
Yeah.
you? Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So we have in Indonesian a saying, lebih baik mencegah daripada mengobati. So my question is like, do you think food waste valorization is more important than food waste prevention? Right? In that regards, what do you think about that?
Right. Actually, by tackling the food waste valorization agenda, we also tackle the importance of food waste prevention. So, by implementing this system, I'm not actually discouraging food waste prevention, but actually encouraging it even more because actually food waste valorization is more focused on renewing unavoidable food waste than avoidable food waste. Like, for example, bones or vegetable stems that we don't really use in the kitchen or we don't really consume. So it handles that situation. So I also like invite the companies and stakeholders who will be the ones leading this system to still engage the society in waste prevention efforts.
All right, thank you. That actually makes sense. And here you mentioned as well, right? As the famous saying goes, little drops of water make the mighty ocean. So I believe we can always start from ourselves, right?
Yes.
So if, let's say, Michelle, you were appointed to be like the head committee of the food valorization in Cahaya Bangsa, what would be your practical steps to implement in our school, let's say?
Right. So if we were to imagine the situation, I definitely would start by educating everyone about the importance of food waste valorization and the concerning impacts of food waste itself. And definitely, like during lunchtime, since that's where we all like eat together, I would definitely like put up some reminders on like to think twice before you get up to throw away your food. Like if it's just bones, it's definitely understandable. But if it's like the main course, I would definitely like encourage them to try to finish it in the first place, and or even like before you take more than what you can consume, like please be more mindful on how much you take so you don't waste anything.
I love that idea how we even have to approach even eating, like eating our lunch intentionally, like be grateful with what God has given us. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, Miss Denise, you can ask your questions.
Thanks, Alda. Michelle, you did a great job. Your presentation was so clear. Your arguments were very strong. Your voice was great. Your physical body's great. Your memory was spot on. I mean, you got fives. I mean, great job. Well done. Well done.
Yes.
So now a few challenging questions, okay? I know in your paper you mentioned a few examples, a few countries that are experimenting with this process of valorization of the food system and saying, okay, here's how we're going to handle that. And obviously, there is unavoidable food waste, right? So let's say if we want to have milk, we're going to have a dairy farm, right? And so cows are going to do what? Poop, right? They're going to poop a lot, right? And so are you familiar with a island in Japan, Hokkaido, that is that's transforming cow manure into hydrogen fuel to power local farms and vehicles and recycling. Are you familiar with that project?
I think I ever heard of it, but I don't really dive deep into it. So
Yeah, it was really funny because I didn't know I was going to sign up for your talk, but we were sitting in bed one night and I was like, oh, look at this interesting article on the BBC. It was like March 25th. And it was all about this anaerobic digestion system of recycling. And I was like, this is so fascinating. I wonder why Indonesia is not doing this. So that's my question. Why are we not doing this, or are we?
right. So based on what I've researched, Indonesia actually have like the reduce, reuse, recycle programs, and there are actually like some local farms that utilizes like black soldier's fly and something like that, like also renewing the food waste and waste in general, but there isn't really a compact mechanism where it can be implemented like all throughout Indonesia. So yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like when I'm reading your paper, you're arguing for this global approach. But as we know, little drops fill the ocean. And so if we're going to start anywhere, we have to start here. So since you are an Indonesian, you're going to go to college to major in this food technology. So when you're finished with college, are you interested in trying to implement some kind of system like this in the nation of Indonesia?
I think I couldn't say I like promise I would do such thing, but I definitely would like to try to combat this issue because Indonesia is full of rural populations that are near landfills, and it's so concerning for them that they live by sites that can potentially danger their health.
Yeah, so hazardous.
Yeah, like it can produce, it can cause asthma or like lung problems, kidney problems and stuff. It's like very, very concerning. So I definitely would like to research further if I can in the future, and hopefully, do some impact.
I think that would be a fantastic goal. And so I'm kind of curious because in your paper, my first question was, how does you started with valorization of the food system will address food scarcity. And I was struggling to make that connection. So help me a little more. I think you argued it, and I wanted to hear again. How is valorizing the food system and trying to reuse, recycle, and harness that and, save the planet, but how is that addressing food scarcity?
Right. So I believe I discussed it in my second proof, and so how food waste valorization can combat the food scarcity is through how food waste valorization produces biodigestate or fertilizers, organic fertilizers, as the byproduct of the anaerobic digestion of food waste. And also by implementing anaerobic digestion facilities, it can be implemented on top of the old landfill sites that has been closed, and so it can it can reuse in a way the old landfill site that have no more meaning, because we cannot grow plants anymore in old landfill sites because of like
contamination.
Yeah, contaminations. So then with the fertilizers produced by the anaerobic digestion, it can fertilize the suitable land available in rural areas or like anywhere it's possible, or even in the future maybe if the fertilizer contents can be further improved so that it can mend the old landfill sites to be reusable for agriculture purposes, then it can it can produce more crops and more food products.
I see. So your basic argument is the food scarcity, you're assuming that the food scarcity problem is related to lack of fertilization.
Yes.
Is that the root of food scarcity?
Food scarcity, it can also be due to like lack of access and stuff, but then it's also one of the main concerns. So I tackle that one, and
I see.
Accessibility actually also is touched by food waste valorization in a sense that food waste valorization produces electricity and can connect the rural population better.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so one of the issues they're having in Japan with that transforming cow manure into hydrogen fuel and using that for power, the problem they're facing is that sometimes the containers, the system that you're using is prone to leakage, and it can actually degrade the metal storage units over time. And because hydrogen takes more space to store, even though it's a lighter gas, it takes more space to store than a fossil fuel or than natural gas. It actually is it's creating more space, right? And so taking away some of the viable land. So I think that no matter what we attempt to do, we're always going to find a new challenge that we need to overcome, right? So I guess my question for you is, why do you feel so passionately about the food valorization part of it? Because there's a lot of ways we could address the climate and food scarcity, and there's different things. And even if I'm just a person eating lunch and I'm throwing away my leftovers, I'm thinking, but let's just say I didn't eat my lunch and I didn't get full, and so that food is still sitting there in the kitchen because someone prepared it, right? And so there's all these restaurants preparing food. Are people going to eat it? I don't know. At the end of the day, what do they do with that? At every, Indomaret, there's people making little sandwiches and stuff, and you got all these things that they're selling. So isn't the free market, to some extent, contributing to the food waste issue more than just me not finishing my meal? What do you think?
So starting with your first question on why I specifically choose food waste is because aside from the fact that I initially, purposefully choose it, is because despite all the various ways, I focus on food waste because I also want to address the importance of of waste separation.
Got it.
And also because food waste valorization, it more efficiently can be used if it's homogeneous, if the waste is homogeneous.
Right.
So then I only focus on specifically food waste.
Okay.
And regarding the free market, actually, it's the one that ensures the food waste valorization plants still continue to run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think as long as the environmental awareness of each individual is assessed, I think regarding the free market, it's less prevalent in a sense.
Okay, maybe so. Maybe if you have less demand or you're not overbuying, perhaps you naturally address the overproduction. Okay, yeah, that's good. Well done. I had one last question, but I think Mr. Strickland's eager to ask something. So let me see. Oh, yeah. So similar to Ms. Alda's question. So what can we do today? What can we do right now? Besides, I'm going to put my food into the organic site, in the little container at CBCS today, right? But what happens to that? Is it really going somewhere and being processed well? And is there something we could be doing to make sure that's happening better? I mean, what can we do?
Right. I think for now, when we know that there isn't a really compact system yet, I think we can focus on reducing our own food waste first. And probably as a citizen, we can research more into the mechanism and be familiar with it first. And I believe even KBP has their system in progress with the greenhouse and all.
Right.
So
so that's what I was going to ask you. Do we have something like, I think you mentioned composting.
Yeah.
So if we can't afford the anaerobic digestion system, which sounds like it's really expensive and very complex, what is the simple thing besides reducing waste that we could do now? So what is it, composting? Is that something we should start at CBCS? What should we do? Yeah?
I think composting is a simple thing we can do also because it just utilizes the natural decomposing nature of food waste, and through that we can also produce our own organic fertilizer, or although the contents isn't really cannot be really what's the name we cannot really measure the contents it has, rather compared to food waste valorization. But I can definitely agree that composting can also be what we can do now.
Yeah, kind of a first step. Thanks.
All right, good job, Michelle. I have a couple of questions. So first of all, many of your peers want to know, Wow, Indonesia's got a lot of problems, and it's got a lot of problems with pollutions and pollution and pollutants and toxins that get leaked into the groundwater, and all kinds of issues from industrial sites and even the way people handle their own toxic garbage. Why are you saying that we should start focusing so much on food waste when perhaps a bigger problem could be just the way the lack of control of toxins in the environment?
Right. So why I focus so much on food waste is actually because by tackling the issue of food waste through food waste valorization, we also tackle the pollution issues and groundwater contamination issues, because a large amount of these world problems is actually due to food waste, in which, because I assume people are asking this question, is because they're not aware that actually food waste causes this issue. So that's why I bring up this food waste topic.
Okay, good. And I think you mentioned a household anaerobic digester. Did you say, what does that look like? What would that look like, and how much does that cost?
Oh, sorry, miss. Right. So household scale anaerobic digesters is actually, sorry, let me restart. Anaerobic digestion is actually just a closed system of using the natural nature of food waste that decomposes, and there's a lot of microbial activities going on inside the anaerobic digester itself. And actually, the mechanism is not so complicated, which is why it can be reduced into household scale, and it could actually be like comparable to a trash can size. And so daily food waste is not that much, right? Compared if it's a centralized mechanism where all food waste from everywhere is collected, that needs a very large plant. But it can actually be implemented in household scales, the size of a trash can, and the mechanism is also similar. Like, it just utilizes microbial activities, and it has byproducts, and it can also suffice, as I mentioned, it can suffice electricity, and because it produces biogas, so it suffices electricity, energy, according to the anaerobic digester itself, like how the companies produce it.
Right. So how do you get that electricity from the anaerobic digester? I mean, isn't there going to have to be some other mechanism that converts that or puts it into your, I don't know, to turn on the lights? You know what I mean?
Definitely it's needed, but in this case, for this thesis, I just assume it's all in one part. The anaerobic digester has like collected all those mechanisms. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, time is up. Good job, Michelle. All right, good job, Michelle. What we'll do, we'll meet up here on the stairs for photos with friends, family, advisor, and panelists. And then we want to get started pretty quickly so we can get finished with today.